ourselves, but we're also human and life happens.
I think anytime we try to set a hard rule for ourselves, we set expectations that can ultimately just disappoint ourselves. I change my mind very often, so because of that, I try not to make resolutions because life changes as well, and what you want changes as well. So that's why I think sometimes making a resolution, it's not the best way to go.
But the experts say the goal may not necessarily be the problem, it's just how you set it.
I think that the bigger thing is create a habit that you're excited about and that you can create consistency with all year long.
And who says the beginning of a new year needs to be the starting point?
Maybe we set ourselves up thinking that January 1st is going to roll around and it's automatically going to be easier. So again, I think giving yourself some grace and maybe 6 months to work towards what you really want to have and not expecting these instantaneous results.
Refocusing on what makes us happy is probably a better way to keep those goals going if you want to set them.
But that's not to say come January 1st, you can't set some new intentions. If you do, this fitness coach says,
Hell yeah, go you.
There it is!
Zara Premji, CBC News, Vancouver.
The new year also means CBC BC's Food Bank Day campaign has come to a close, this year raising more than $2,446,000.
It is truly remarkable. And the money and the impact that those funds will have is clearly of great significance.
The total is expected to increase over the next 2 weeks as checks sent over the holidays are processed. Donations were down a bit this year compared to last, but Food Banks BC says that isn't surprising as more people are dealing with their own financial struggles. Meteorologist Russ Lacade joins us now with a look at our weather. And Russ, I hear it's going to be a little chillier than we're used to seeing.
That's the plan, cooling things down a little bit here in early 2024. Happy New Year to our viewers. What we're looking at across the country really is maybe a blizzard over the northernmost reaches of Quebec into parts of Nunavut. That's about it, because province-wide in BC, we only have a few dense fog warnings for parts of the South Thompson and the Columbian Kootenays. Your national forecast tomorrow, sunshine across the Maritimes, sunshine in the prairies, clouds with little to no precipitation around the central part of the country. And here in BC, well, we didn't have any precipitation today, and it finally wasn't mild. Look, 5s, 6s, 7s, couple of 8s on the temperature board here for our highs today. Overnight, Janella dropping down to about 3 degrees, and lots of details on that colder trend a little later in the show.
Thanks so much, Russ. New Year's Day marked a new era of women's hockey. The Professional Women's Hockey League dropping the puck today to kick off its first ever season.
I think it's awesome. Yeah, like finally getting recognition in like a sport that should have been recognized a long time ago, right, for women. So I think it's a great step forward.
It's pretty awesome, right?
Yeah.
We were literally just talking about her picking up skating again, and you're going skating with your school, right?
Yeah. I've watched hockey growing up my whole life, but never seen a women's team or a pro team. So yeah, I think it's really cool.
In the end, New York won the game, shutting out Toronto 4-0. Greg Ross has more on the inaugural match.
Fans, your 2024 PWHL Toronto!
It had all the pomp and circumstance you would expect from professional sports. Player introductions, a light show, and a packed house of screaming fans.
The way the crowd reacted when we came on the ice was really cool. I think just to have that atmosphere.
Felt pretty surreal, you know, seeing the full sold-out crowd and to see all those young girls in the stands.
Young girls like Margot Adams drawing inspiration from her new heroes.
And I do want to play hockey.
In fact, she's already started skating lessons.
Can you skate backwards?
Better than I can skate frontwards.
Tennis legend and women's rights activist Billie Jean King dropped the puck for the ceremonial opening face-off. She's also a member of the league's advisory board.
This is a game to cherish. It's the birth, really, I think, of women's professional hockey to be permanent. Sam Cullen!
She says unlike past attempts to create a professional women's hockey league, the PWHL will have staying power because of its corporate backing.
And you got to have the money, and you got to have enough money for long term, and that's always a challenge.
It's the whole infrastructure. It's all the people that are supporting it, that are behind it. It's the staff, and of course the players.
Wins in Shelton with her stick on that, and she gets
The more than 2,500 fans in attendance got to see New York's Ella Shelton score the league's first ever goal. That puck and her stick were shipped off to the Hockey Hall of Fame after the game.
It's a real moment for me. I couldn't tell you if I remember it all that well. Blacked out a little bit during it, but very exciting, humbling, historic moment.
In the end, it wasn't the result the home crowd was hoping for. New York beat Toronto by a final of 4-0. The other two Canadian teams in the league will play their first game against each other tomorrow night when Ottawa hosts Montreal. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
A series of earthquakes in Japan causing fire, collapsed building, displacing hundreds from their homes. What that means for the threat of a tsunami after the break. Thanks for staying with us during our commercial-free live stream. A female referee on PEI is hoping that her recent debut in the Maritime Junior Hockey League will inspire others to consider officiating. Ellen Dixon says the number of female officials on the island is growing, but as Nancy Russell reports, she'd like to see even more.
This is where Ellen Dixon started officiating. She grew up in the North River Minor Hockey Association and started reffing at the age of 14.
Two goes spread eagle.
This is Ellen Dixon on the ice in Summerside, making her official debut in the Maritime Junior Hockey League, one of 7 female officials in the league.
In some ways, it's funny because it was underwhelming. I was nervous going into it, but at the same time, it's just another game of hockey. It was just about adjusting to the tempo and the speed because the game wasn't overly intense. It wasn't a very close game, which I think was a great way to get my feet wet in that league. But overall, I was working with a really great crew that have worked that league quite a bit, so it made me feel really comfortable that I was supported by the people I was on the ice with.
Dixon says she hasn't always felt that support, especially when she started reffing games in AAA male leagues across the island.
Certainly, I've had comments based on my gender that I should go back to reffing girls hockey, especially when I started working more elite sport. That was always interesting because I feel, gender doesn't have too much of a say in my ability to skate or my ability to understand and apply a rule. There was certainly some kickback there, but I certainly took it harder when I was younger, but I've developed sort of a water off a duck scenario in that from here on out, yeah.
Now Ellen Dixon wants to support other female officials.
I think there's always going to be concerns just because there's just a lot of intensity in hockey. There's emotions run really high in the rink, things are going to happen, but I think it's just important, especially in the female side, to have that sense of community, that there's people who are going to be there to support them.
The manager of officiating for Hockey PEI says the number of female officials is growing, up 22 this year to almost 60 across the island. Stephen Green says having Ellen Dixon as a role model is making a difference.
Well, I think it gives them a little bit of inspiration, maybe, or maybe helps give them a sense that I can actually do something like this, like this is not out of reach for me. It actually helps the parents, too, realize, that your daughter wants to play hockey, but she can also be an official, too, as well.
Ellen Dixon says her dream is to officiate at a national university championship, and she hopes she can also help others to reach even higher.
Maybe I'll help some girl get to that international level, right? So maybe I think my role there might be more in let's find the next one. It might not be me, but let's find the next one. I'll walk so they can run.
Ellen Dixon also hopes to find a regular spot in the rotation here in the Maritime Junior Hockey League. Every game a chance to inspire more girls to follow in her footsteps. Nancy Russell, CBC News, Cornwall.
A powerful earthquake rocked western Japan on New Year's Day, leaving at least 4 dead and reports of many trapped beneath rubble. The magnitude 7.6 quake triggered the evacuation of several municipalities, trapping people under collapsed buildings and leaving 36,000 with no electricity. Yvette Brend has more.
the terrifying moments when a powerful quake hit this family home. English teacher Barney Davis took this video 140 kilometers from the epicenter.
It just kept going. It was really long. And like the fridge door was opening and shutting. Pictures were going all over the place. Everything fell off the shelves. It was pretty dramatic.
Violent shaking triggered meter-high waves along Japan's west coast. It collapsed buildings, sparking fires and fear.
The whole room was shaking. The TV was shaking. It is quite scary. Definitely. When you hear about earthquakes in Japan, you wouldn't expect one to actually experience one.
Power was cut to more than 30,000 homes, and the shaking was felt throughout the island, including in the Nagano region.
Suddenly, my phone ringing about the earthquake warning. It says Ishikawa got an earthquake, so you gotta be careful. And suddenly, it get pretty strong earthquake. You can see all the snow from the electric wire goes down, and also from the roof go down. And all the car is shaking. So everybody was panicked that time.
At the Ketagran Shrine, where millions traditionally mark the new year, you could hear the structure creaking as it swayed. At the epicenter, roads buckled and homes collapsed. The government says it received reports of at least 6 people trapped in rubble. But no damage was reported at Japan's nuclear plants. Still, nearly 100,000 people were evacuated from their homes over fears a tsunami could hit. The initial major warning later downgraded. It's just the first warning issued since a devastating quake-triggered tsunami killed about 20,000 people in northeastern Japan back in 2011.
When you hear earthquake in Japan, one's mind goes to the Tohoku earthquake.
He says this is the strongest quake in this part of Japan in decades. Strong aftershocks already being reported.
The concern is always that the main shock will have damaged a building and an aftershock can bring it down. But there's a chance, a 1 in 20 chance or so, that there will be a bigger one, that this is actually a foreshock.
For now, he says engineers head in to assess damage to ensure shaken buildings and roads are safe for people's return. Yvette Brand, CBC News, Vancouver.
BC, of course, makes up a section of the Ring of Fire, the tectonic belt of earthquakes and volcanoes along the Pacific Ocean. Seismologists say Japan's earthquake should serve as a reminder for British Columbians.
What happens in Japan certainly gives us some reflection that it may, and certainly, as time goes on, it will happen here along Cascadia subduction zone as well. So we should definitely be prepared.
On average, 3,000 earthquakes are reported in BC each year, but most are too small to be felt. While the season of giving is technically over, engagement diamonds can be given at any time of year. But would you buy one from a lab? As Nisha Patel explains, consumers are taking a shine to them.
Evelyn Schaefer.
Looking back at the moment she got engaged,
Will you marry me?
Evelyn Schaefer was especially pleased with the ring.
I'd never seen anything like it, and it's gorgeous, and so he did a very good job.
Her fiancé proposed with diamonds that weren't mined from the earth. They were created in a lab.
With lab-grown, it was just kind of a way to help with sustainability.
And recent innovations mean the manufactured stones are much more affordable than natural diamonds.
We're both students, and so I didn't want us to start our marriage with a bunch of debt over a ring.
Lab-grown diamonds are made inside a plasma chamber. With the right temperature, pressure, and gases, the process forms a gem in just a few weeks.
We've created this technology in order to really remove the human and environmental tolls.
U.S. retailer Vrey is seeing huge demand from millennial and Gen Z consumers. It's expanding rapidly and opened its first Canadian showroom this year.
We are looking at an industry that's changing, and we're at the forefront of changing for the better.
Global sales of lab-grown diamonds jumped nearly 40% last year compared to the year before, and big brands are catching on.
Diamonds are for every diamonds, diamonds, diamonds.
Jewelry giants Pandora and Swarovski have launched lab-grown diamond collections. The gems are also shining bright with celebrities. U.S. regulators have declared lab-grown diamonds are the real thing, chemically and physically, and they're graded and certified the same way. But experts warn compared to natural diamonds, lab-grown don't hold as much value.
Most people can't distinguish between the two, but the one is still worth significantly more and much more desirable than the other one.
This is probably our best seller.
Still, this Toronto jeweler is doing big business selling only lab-grown stones.
A diamond is a diamond, whether the diamond is mined outside or whether it's made in a lab.
Either way, the hope is the same, that they'll be forever. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
Riding into the new year in style. After the break, we catch up with a group of Metro Vancouver women who are welcoming 2024 on horseback.
Hi, my name is Hannah Taylor. I'm from Summerside, Prince Edward Island. I'm a national team wrestler with Team Canada. I started wrestling in Prince Edward Island when I was in grade 6, and I've now competed at the world level. Today we're raising money for Can Fund, which is actually an organization where Canadians can donate to support high-level athletes in all sports. So I'm lucky enough to be a recipient this year of Can Fund. So as a sponsored athlete, I'm giving back to the organization by donating all the funds today from our wrestling camp back to them. I just want to introduce the sport of wrestling to all levels of athletes. So we have some people here who have some experience, along with some newer age-level athletes. So just kind of showing them the fun of the sport, how far you can go with the sport, and just showing them like what I have done and what I've achieved to hopefully inspire them to do the same. I think it's so wonderful to see females join a predominantly male sport, and previously in Prince Edward Island we did have a lot of male wrestlers. When I went to Canada Games back in 2013 there was 3 women. So today having 1/3 of the entire room being women is incredible. I just love like how many people are wrestling now. Like it's just awesome to see, and so many more girls coming out. It's amazing.
It's very empowering because I see another woman go out there and get so high on the podium, and I want to do that too, and it's really inspiring.
Well, it's always awesome when like a potential Olympic athlete is like from Summerside, like PEI as well, is coming in to do like a presentation for us. Like it was too good to pass up. So the thing about coming from Prince Edward Island is, yes, we are a small province, and we might not have the opportunity to compete every single weekend for wrestling because it is a rather niche sport. I still think that you can be super successful coming from Prince Edward Island. We have had a ton of wrestlers to do that. So showing them that, hey, coming in here, putting in the work, and it doesn't really matter where you come from, you can achieve a lot. And just showing them that this sport is fun, and if you stick with it, there's a lot of opportunities, is kind of my goal for today.
All right, Russ Lacade is back with a look at our weather. Russ, I know you mentioned a little earlier that weather is going to get a bit chillier. How cold are we talking?
Well, back to normal so far, but considerably colder than normal less than a week from now. And it's not just local, Janella. I think it's going to be a nationwide cooling trend For several days, we had that strong southerly jet stream just keeping all the Arctic air far to the north. There's a great big split in that jet offshore. Now, coastal California is going to get a lot of storms over the following few days. And what happens is when the jet stream backs off the coast, it essentially opens the door to that colder Arctic air. It's not rushing in. It'll migrate its way down from the north over the following few days. We're going to see the daytime high -13 just hiding underneath there for Fort Nelson, -1 in Fort St. John. Compare those to what's happening in tomorrow's forecast across BC. A few clouds will move in. That's the high for tomorrow. -22 in Fort Nelson, -11 in Fort St. John. The Arctic front slumping, not quite working its way towards the central interior just yet. Lots of leftover cloud. Temperatures a little above average in parts of the BC southern interior. Our long-range forecast for Metro Vancouver, some light rain moves in again tomorrow afternoon and evening, so not first thing, but we're near normal with a high of 7 degrees, staying a little on the coolish side with more significant precipitation Friday and Saturday. These days, Janella, that snow line comes down to about 1,000 meters, so the local mountains get quite a bit. And through the weekend into early next week, colder than average, we might get some snow down to sea level, too. Something to watch out for.
I know lots of people will be excited to hear that S word. Thank you so much, Russ.
You're welcome.
Everyone has their own way of marking the new year, and one group of Metro Vancouver ladies decided to start off their year with a beach gallop at Spanish Banks.
Beautiful landscape, start the year off right. Woo!
This group of 6 ladies dressed their horses up in festive ribbons and blankets and took turns racing by the water, a unique and fun way to welcome 2024. Thanks for being with us tonight on CBC Vancouver News at 6. You can watch this newscast on our free CBC Gem app, YouTube, and of course on our website at cbc.ca/BC. Wishing everyone a very happy new year. We'll see you tomorrow.